Hey guys, Nian here, and today I'm going to be talking about lunar items and how I personally feel they make you worse at the game as a player. So now I should probably get this out of the way first. This isn't going to be a video about how lunar items should just be completely removed or shaming people for using them, but acknowledging the power of a specific few and how relying on those alone constantly in every single one of your runs over time makes you a worse player. So I'll just go through the problem lunar items, talk about them really quick, and then give my thoughts in the end here about general lunar item usage. So yeah, first up here is shaped glass, and and man, this item is powerful, even more so when stacked. It doubles your damage each time you stack it, and each time it also halves your current HP. So I mean, the downside of losing your health is huge in this game, but that's negated by the fact that stacking enough of them actually triggers your one-shot protection constantly, as long as you have some form of healing, be it like 2 or 3 leeching seeds minimum, and then yeah, it's no longer a negative. So the second lunar item is Gesture of the Drowned, which reduces your cooldowns by half, so 50%, and 15% per each one after the first. And so what this does is it uses your equipment on cooldown, which is a huge downside on a lot of the equipment, right? So like Crayon, Jade Elephant, and Primordial Cube are just a couple of some of the examples I can think of off the top of my head. But yeah, you don't bother taking that item until you have an equipment that just passively hits things. So like disposable missile launcher and royal capacitor, and then those completely negate the downside entirely because you can like shorten the cooldown enough where with a couple fuel cells with Gesture of the Drown that it doesn't even matter. Third item here would be Hellfire Tincture. What it does is it burns 5% of your maximum life over about 10 seconds, but does that same damage, or does that burn damage to all the enemies around you. I don't know what the radius is exactly, I think it's like 8 meters, and the burn damage is 24 times as powerful on enemies, alright? So like that alone is insane. But on its own, I guess I should say, this item it can be extremely risky early in the runs. Later in the runs, it's not a big deal, but certain characters, mercenary, they can completely negate the downside to this because they have so many invulnerability frames already built into their kit with like their shift and R depending on what you use. But I guess one thing I should say is Hellfire Tincture can be comboed with Strides of Heresy, and at that point it's just free damage with no downside. Granted, that is 2 lunar items. So what do these items do to make you worse at the game in the long run of constantly using them, you might ask? And I would say they greatly skew your perception on what a good run looks like. I don't mean a god run, a good run. And relying on them more makes it so that you rely less on developing your own game sense and just an all-around knowledge of the game as a player, because to reach that god run status, you reach it several loops earlier than you would not stacking lunar items, sometimes even like loop 1, depending on like what combination of lunar items you get with what certain other items, like just one-shot everything. It turns into like a clown fest. So does that mean that I think lunar items are horrible? No. I mean, I myself I never take them, with the exception being Beads of Fealty, because I feel they make the game too easy. But I do see them as a way for the player to reward themselves with like having a nice laid back run every once in a while. And I feel like cheating, or rather editing in more coins to use every single run, is hurting you as a player in the long run. Just because like the more you do that, I feel like you're losing just general game sense. Right? Because you're relying too much on like just being able to one shot everything with shaped glass, or just passively annihilating everything with royal or like royal capacitor stacking, gesture of the drowned, and some fuel cells. I don't know. They make the game kind of a joke. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Lunar Rhymes in general. Hopefully it helped, and be back again tomorrow. Bye guys.